What's up everyone, it's Nick McCullum here, and in this video we're going to be working through the practice problems on functions from my Python Fundamentals course. Before we get started, I invite you to subscribe to this channel to get all of my future videos showing you how to become a better software developer. With that out of the way, let's dig into these practice problems on functions. So problem 1 says, write a Python function called max of 3 to find the maximum value between three numbers. Do not use the built-in max function. Hint, in my solution, I found it easiest to create a different function called max of 2 and use that function to base my max of 3 off of. Okay, so the reason I included this problem is so that you can get an appreciation for actually how complex that built-in max function is. Here's what I did to solve this. First, we define a function called max of 2, and it takes two arguments, x and y. Now, what it does in here is it says if x is greater than y, we're going to return x, and if not, we're going to return y. Now, if you look at the syntax for this function, it might not be actually clear. Is it returning two things? How does this work where there's two return statements? Well, it's important to know that in a Python function, every time you hit a return statement, you exit the function entirely. So the way this logic works is that you take in the two arguments. On this line, you say if x is less than y, or sorry, if x is greater than y, you return x, and then the entire function stops. Now, if this statement is not true, then you skip this code block here, and you hit this return statement, which also ends the function. So that is max of 2. I ran it to see if the syntax was right, and I missed that colon, of course, because I'm stupid. And yeah, so that's the first function. Now we have to use this function to actually create a different function called max of 3. And this is going to take three integers, x, y, and z. And what this is going to do is we're going to return an embedded max of 2 statement. Return max of 2. And then the two arguments for this are going to be x, and then the max of 2 of y and z. There we go. Now how does this look? Let's run this to make sure it executes properly. Perfect. And we will try this out with a couple different variables. Max of 3, we will do 3, 6, 9. This should return 9. Let's do 4, 2, 1. This should return 4. And let's do one more. 2, 5, 1. This should return 5. Awesome, so that's problem 1. Let's move on to problem 2. Problem 2 says write a Python function called multiply to multiply all the numbers in a list together and return that value. The function should be created in such a way that it will work for lists, tuples, and sets. Okay, so how do we do this? We'll start with the def keyword as always, and then the name of the function multiply, and this takes one argument, which could be a list, a tuple, or a set, as we talked about. And we're going to just call this numbers. Now, within the function, we're going to create a variable called total and assign it an initial value of 1. After that, we're going to write a for loop, and what this for loop is going to do is every iteration it's going to multiply the element that it has selected from the list against that total value that we just created. So let's write that out. For x in numbers, we're going to say total is equal to asterisk equal x. Now, what does this special syntax mean? This just means every loop through, total is going to be changed to total times x. All right, so that's that. And then on the next line, we're just going to return total. Awesome. So we run that. There's no errors. Let's test it with a list. Multiply, and we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4. And this should give us 24. Awesome. Looks like it's working properly. Let's move on to problem 3. Problem 3 says write a Python function called CaseCounter that counts the number of uppercase and lowercase letters in a string. If you're up to it, store the lowercase and uppercase values in a dictionary within the function. The function should print two sentences that state the number of uppercase and lowercase characters. Okay, so how do we do this? We start with the def keyword as always. We're going to call it CaseCounter as specified, and then it's just going to take in a string which we're going to call s. Now let's hit the colon and go into the indented code block. So we're going to start this function by actually creating the dictionary that stores the number of uppercase and lowercase values. We're going to call this dictionary D, and with the assignment operator equal sign, we can just say upper case, and that has a value of initial value of 0, and then the same for lower case. This also has an initial value of 0. So that's our dictionary. On the next line, we're going to create a for loop that loops through every character in the string s. So we're going to say for c in s. This is just shorthand for saying for character in string. And then we're going to do an if, elif, else statement that says if it's an uppercase letter, we're going to add 1 to uppercase. If it's a lowercase letter, we're going to add 1 to lowercase. And if not, we're going to just use the pass argument to skip over the loop completely. So let's write that out. We say if c dot is upper. Now, the isUpper method returns true if it's in uppercase and returns false otherwise. So here we just say dictionary at upper case is increased by 1. And then the same thing for if c dot lower, we're going to say d dot lowercase is increased by 1. And then we're going to say, this should not be an if statement, this should be an elif statement. And then we're going to say else pass. Now, why do we need this pass statement here? You might think that we can settle for just an if elif because all characters are either uppercase or lowercase, but this else statement handles special characters like the exclamation mark, the question mark, spaces, so that's why we need that pass statement there. All right, so that's the loop, and then within the function, we're going to add 2 more print statements, and then we'll be done. So the first print statement will print the number of uppercase characters, so we will say the number of uppercase characters, and then we will say, there's actually 2 ways you can do this. The way I'm going to do it in this tutorial is just say this, comma, D, uppercase. So you can print variables within a print statement by just putting a comma and then the variable name. You could also do an F string and actually interpolate it in like this. All right, so that's the first one. And then we'll actually just copy this for the second one because then we can just change a couple words. The number of lowercase is lower. All right, let's run this and see if it actually compiles properly. Invalid syntax. Dude, uppercase. Let's see if changing this to single quotes makes a difference. Yes, it does, because now it's showing the error in a different spot. So what just happened was I had double quotes here, and it was causing the code to not compile properly. So, and now I'm missing a square bracket. What are you doing? There we go. Okay, so it looks like it's compiling properly. Let's test it with a string. So we will say CaseCounter of just my name. Awesome. So there's 3 uppercase letters, N, M, and the uppercase C here, and then the rest of them are lowercase. Great. So that's problem 3. Let's move on to problem 4, which says write a Python function called duplicate eliminator that takes in a list, eliminates any duplicate values, and returns a set. And then it says hint, this is probably easier than you think. So let's start by just writing def duplicate eliminator, and this takes in a list, which we're going to use the keyword L for. And then the easiest way to take a list and eliminate duplicate values to return a set is by just wrapping it in the set function. So here we'll just say return set of L. Great, let's test this out with a list with a bunch of duplicate values. We say duplicate eliminator of 1, 1, 2, 2, sorry, 1, comma 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5. Awesome, it's working properly. So let's move on to problem 5. Problem 5 says write a Python function called square machine that takes in a list and returns another list whose elements are the values of the first list squared. Okay, so to do this, what we're going to do is we're going to loop through every element of the list that we pass in. And as we loop through it, we're going to change the value of the list at that index to its old value squared. So we'll write this function the same way we did before, def square machine. And within the braces, we're going to put the list as our argument. The list. And then we're going to actually do this with a while loop. So to start, we'll write the incrementer variable as I equals 0, and then we'll write while I is less than length of the list. We will say the list at index I is equal to its old value, the list at index I, squared. Okay, so that's done, and then we have to increment the increment variable like this, and then after that's done, we should be able to just return the list. Let's run that function. It runs properly, and we will test it on a couple different lists to make sure it's running properly. Square machine, and then in here we will say 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this should give us 1, 1, 4, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36. 1, 1, 4, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36. Awesome. So that's problem 5. Let's move on to problem 6. Problem 6 says write a Python function called dict decomposer that takes in a dictionary and prints 2 lines of text. one line stating the keys of the dictionary and one line stating the values of the dictionary. An example output from the correct solution is below. Okay, so to do this, we will say def dict decomposer, and then in here we say the dict. Now, what's the easiest way to get the keys and values from a Python dictionary? It's using the keys, the dot keys and the dot values methods, and we will probably wrap them in a list to make it easiest. So this actually doesn't need to return anything. It's simply asking to print 2 lines of text. So we can just say print, and oh, sorry, this should be 2 different print statements, and print. Now what goes in the first one? We're going to have to interpolate in these values, so we'll use an f string. So we'll say f to quotes, and then we'll say the keys of the dictionary are, and then in here we will say the dict.keys. Now if we run this, you'll notice that we'll delete the second print statement for a second, and if we run this and actually pass a dictionary into it, so we will say, I'm going to copy in a test dictionary from off screen here, and if we write dict decomposer and pass in test dictionary, you'll see this is actually isn't quite right because we get dict underscore keys to show that this is a special kind of Python object. To fix this, we can wrap this in a list function within the braces. Run it again. This one's right. We can copy this first print statement and make a few modifications to get our second print statement. The values of the dictionary are the dict.values. Awesome. So we're done. That's all for our practice problems on Python functions. Thanks so much for watching, and before you take off, be sure to subscribe to get all my future videos showing you how to become a better Python developer. Thanks.